Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix versus Cinema, the podcast that goes to the cinema every week, tries to see about 3 things if they'll let us, and rates them out of 5, stays at home, sees things to match up with those, rates them out of 5, and sees where has the money been better spent this week. Who is winning the battle for our eyeballs? My name is Tosin and I am your host. I'm based up in a place called Bromsgrove, just outside Birmingham. And joining me, as always, on the Isle of Wight is Shaun Harris.
Hello, how are you?
Doing good. And for the first time in a while, it's our London correspondent, who might be sounding a little bit freer right now because life is just like that way and she has a new computer. It's Holly Neslane.
Hello. Accompanied by Max.
Accompanied by Max.
How are you?
Okay. All right, some of you might know, we are recording on Zoom right now, and we have Max, who is looking very, very suspiciously like he is not sure who these people are that's talking to his mum.
You sure he's not one of those flirkins? Or whatever they call him.
He could be a flirkin.
He looks remarkably like a flirkin to me.
He could be a flirkin. He has a very flirkin look on his face.
You flirking, darling. He's very confused.
He has a very flirky look. That was not a confused look, Holly. That was him realizing, they've rumbled me! Quick!
You've been rumbled, darling. Have you been rumbled?
He has been rumbled. He is actually a flirkin. So we're gonna talk about. Let's kick off by talking about what we've seen in the cinema this week. So Shaun, you and I represented cinema this week, and I saw Wonka. Wonka, and you saw
Godzilla Minus One.
You see, now that is a fight I'd like to see. Willy Wonka versus Godzilla. And see, just sort of like, he'll probably come up with some sort of chocolate confection that he could throw and everything like that. Yeah. That would be cooked on Godzilla's atomic breath. Actually, I think I like this. I might go and write this fight scene now. but at home, Holly, you are representing home today. Home viewing, as am I. What have you seen at home?
I have seen Mafia Mama on Amazon Prime.
Mafia Mama. This is this is one of those things that they've been pushing, and they have been shoving the trailer in my face, saying, "Mafia Mama, watch Mafia Mama. Don't you want to watch?" Which is Toni Collette and Monica Bellucci.
It is.
Toni Collette, which I mean, that sounds promising. And I have also seen Leo on Netflix, which is Adam Sandler voicing a septuagenarian lizard.
Ooh.
Yes. So yeah, it's an animated thing because Shaun pointed out that because Sharon isn't around this week. So let's get an animation out of the way, because I think the last couple of weeks when Sharon's been around, I have subjected her to something animation wise, and she just sort of sat down there with a totally disinterested look on her face throughout the whole thing. But let us kick off in cinema, and let us kick off with Wonka, because I think Wonka is the big release this week. And this is the one that I have seen. I'm the only one who has seen Wonka. I am going to start off by saying that if there is a film this Christmas season that has more good cheer and more charm and more heart, it's going to be Going Some to beat Wonka. Now, this is a film that when I first heard about it, I mean, I went all sort of like, film buffery snob about it. Going, oh, for goodness sake, this is just Hollywood having absolutely no imagination. Why do we need another prequel about a character? Nobody asked for this. And these are all the things that I maintained. I saw the first trailer for this and I thought, this is stupid. This is going to be a failure. Timothée Chalamet is like, I was not convinced by his performance as Willy Wonka in the trailer. I just thought his voice when it was, my name is Willy Wonka, and I was like, no, doesn't work. All those things, but the fact is that this is directed by Paul King, written by Paul King and Simon Farnaby, who the most recent film that those guys wrote and one of them directed was Paddington 2. So you're like, well, but the guys who made Paddington 2 think that there's something here, so maybe. And so I went to watch this film because also my whole new thing where nowadays I can only watch films that are rated 12A at most because I go with my daughter go to watch this film. And honestly, guys, this film is so charming. This film is so good. It's so much better than it has any right to be. It's almost like it's a Christmas miracle. That's what it is. That's what it is. So this film kicks off. It is a musical. Right from the word go, it kicks off with Willy Wonka arriving in an unnamed European city which is they very, very deliberately do not name this European city, even though it has shades of, like, sort of Oliver Twist type London.
Oh, right. Okay. I was going to say, I was thinking maybe Switzerland or Belgium or somewhere like that.
It has, like, people have said that it looks like, or there's some bits of it look a bit like Prague, bits of it look a bit like Vienna, bits of it look a bit like Venice, that kind of thing. So they've made this hodgepodge, this sort of hodgepodge
Amalgam.
yeah, amalgam of old timey sort of like European city. That's what it is. But because they've done that, I think that's actually a clever thing, because then you have people, the accents in this are all over the shop. Some people have, like, Jersey accents. Some people have, like, flat American accents. Some people have East End Cockney accents. So it's all like so he arrives in the city, and he comes in because he's traveled the world, he's traveled the 7 seas, and he wants to come in and he wants to start a chocolate shop. But when he gets to this place and he's going to start this chocolate shop, there's this chocolate cartel, they call them. Chocolate cartel who control everybody because they have a group of chocoholic monks who live underneath a church, who are like the enforcement thing, and they bribe everybody with chocolate because they have this endless vats of chocolate. So essentially, it's very silly. It's very, very silly, but it commits to the silliness. It commits to all that kind of stuff. You find that Wonka ends up being he meets up with Tom Davis and Olivia Colman, who are playing kind of like they're called like Cratchit and Fetchit or something like that, and so the story goes on, and he meets this group of people who help him with his scheme, because he sort of ends up in a sort of like Oliver Twist situation where he gets put into servitude in a I keep wanting to say London, even though it isn't. It's very, very obviously based on something like Oliver Twist, in a sort of East End laundry type of thing, where he has to pay off for the next 10 years because he didn't read the small print of the thing he signed. So it goes on, and there's shenanigans and everything like that about him trying to set up his chocolate shop, and these guys who are very, very stereotypical Roald Dahl bad guys trying to stop him doing it because they just want to be nasty and they want to be mean. But this film is so full of heart. It's so full of heart, and it does that whole thing where, when you're watching something and people are trying to push something, they're trying to say, you should care about this, and it just falls flat and it doesn't feel right. But this just soars. It just goes in there, and I was just kind of like watching it going, this is amazing, this is great, this is good. And even there's one particular number when they start selling chocolate to people, where they jump around the city, and they jump around different bits around the city, and there's a bit on the tram where Timothée Chalamet playing Wonka's head just pops up from the bottom of the frame, and just the look on his face, you're like, they've nailed the silliness. They have nailed the silliness in this. And I think everybody in the film is great. You have and there's obviously elements, because this is not an original Roald Dahl story, but it's using Roald Dahl characters. There's obviously elements where they've taken things from other Roald Dahl stories. So that, for instance, the Chocolate Cartel are 3 businessmen who don't want anybody else to have any of the chocolates in the town, which is very much like Bugus Bunsen Bean from Fantastic Mr. Fox. And then you have there's a little girl he meets called Noodle, who ends up being like his partner in crime as he goes through trying to get through everything. And Noodle's storyline is almost straight out of Matilda. And you have all these different things that they've done as nods to Roald Dahl. You have all these the things that they do that sort of nods to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But to be honest with you, I don't think that if this film was made and there was never a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, it would still work. So I know that they've gone in and said Wonka because people know who Wonka is and all that, but I don't really think it tries to link itself too much with either the performance of Gene Wilder in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or the performance of Johnny Depp in the most recent film. It doesn't really do that, and I think it's best to just treat this as a totally new thing, a totally different thing on its own. Songs by the Divine Comedy. I loved this film. I thought it was brilliant, even though I had to watch most of it from the entrance corridor to the hall, to the cinema, because my daughter kept making noise and I had to keep sort of like running back out to sort of try and not disturb everybody else. But people were smiling at her by the end of the film, so yeah, I think that was good. But no,
was she asking questions about the film then? Was she sort of asking you questions?
Oh, well,
why does this?
She was just sort of saying, I want my mummy. But the funny thing is, whenever they started singing, she would keep quiet and just be like transfixed on the screen. Once they started talking, she was like, "Where's mommy?" And that was just me up and down for the whole film. I was like, okay, cool. Sorry. Good. But yeah, no. I think this is great. I think if you, oh, like my wife went to see it. So my wife is currently on maternity leave. She's a doctor, and she went to see it, and she loves things where that are just sort of like heartfelt and uplifting because she's a doctor and she works with a whole bunch of, and she went to see it with our 11-week-old daughter at one of these sort of like baby screenings where she could see it at the Everyman Cinema in Birmingham, and she just came back. She came back just sort of like raving and floating and being like, "Oh my god, this was so good! Oh, I loved it! Oh, this bit and that bit and everything." So I would say if you want some sort of, it's not a Christmas movie, but if you want some sort of cheer this holiday season, go see Wonka. I couldn't believe it was as good as it is. I don't think it did. It's great. It's great. It's good. Simon Farnaby and Paul King have done it again, and it's almost kind of makes me sad that they're not going to be the ones doing Paddington 3. But hey, and I know I am so close to giving this thing a 5, but I don't think it's a 5. As much as I love this film, it's a 5-star experience watching the film. I think it's a 4-star film. Like, I think I was watching the film and I was thinking, this is just amazing. I'm enjoying this. They're nailing everything they're doing. Oh, and I haven't even mentioned Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa is hilarious. There is something about Hugh Grant's pomposity that when put into an Oompa Loompa body is just brilliant. It's just absolutely brilliant. It works brilliantly. But anyway, cool. I'm going to give it 4 stars. 4 stars for Wonka. Go watch it. Even if you do not like the original sort of like Charlie Chalk stuff, if you're a Roald Dahl fan, do not worry. They've done very, very well. I think it's a great film. I think you should go watch it. 4 stars for Wonka. Right. And now we go over to Netflix and Friends. Prime Video is what we're going to be talking about today, and this is Mafia Mama, which Holly, you saw, and this film actually, I saw the trailer because, as I've said, Prime Video has been shoving it in my face, saying, watch this, and this feels almost like a throwback to like a 1980s screwball comedy, where they have like a massively implausible idea as central to this whole thing that leads to shenanigans.
That is, I think, a fair description. So the lead character is played by Toni Collette, who is a woman in her 40s with a son who's heading off to college and a husband he has a band, and I think he works in Starbucks. He brings little to the party, and she works for, insofar as I can tell, a pharmaceutical company working in the marketing and advertising, and is the only woman, and is at the beginning is told that maybe she could work on this product because she's a woman of a certain age, which is designed for, much older women. So so she is suitably patronized in her work environment. And as she's sending her son off to college, she gets a call from Italy, from a woman saying, your grandfather has died. You have to come to Rome tomorrow to sort out his affairs. And she rushes around saying, I simply can't do that. Far too much to do. And then discovers that her husband is more of a waste of space than she thought. This all happens within the first 3 minutes. And says, well, I'm just going to go then. So, as she has always wanted to go to Italy,
Yeah.
and where you discover she was born.
Yeah.
And so off she goes, encouraged by her best friend, who is an international litigator. And they do Krav Maga or some sort of self-defense together.
Oh yeah.
And off she heads to land in Rome, where, as she arrives, she meets a very handsome Italian man who's collecting his aunt from the station, from the airport rather, as she'd just come back from Greece. And she is whipped off to the funeral of her grandfather, who has been shamelessly killed by the rival mob family, the Barbanos. And her grandfather, the father of her long deceased father, has been the scion of their family, running a really very bad wine business as a front for all of their other illegal activities. And she is informed that she must make peace with the Barbanos and take over running of the business. And lo, madness and hilarity ensues. Murder, attempted murder, shooting, stabbing, poison,
Oh, oh,
everything you could possibly imagine and more.
all the while, I mean, this is me just going by the trailer. All the while she's using her four unappreciated skills as a soccer mom to help run a mafia family.
Exactly that.
Is there any like I don't know, Easter eggs or references to any is there any
Nothing.
any things like
Yeah,
like
one thing, the family, the mob family are all absolutely obsessed with the Godfather films.
right, okay.
And
I wondered if there would be some.
Yes, she has never seen any of them.
Right.
Um, so it is just, it is a, it is in many ways an absolute screwball comedy, a quite violent screwball comedy.
Yep.
Um, and it's delightful. I've watched it twice. I mean, we know I watch everything a million times, so that's only so much of an indicator. I watched it twice in 3 days
Oh wow.
because it was just so nice and so lovely and so completely ridiculous. And it knows what it is. You know, Toni Collette is Toni Collette and is wonderful. Monica Belluci plays the wonderful family secretary, who is just Monica Bellucci perfection. The rest of the cast are fabulous. There's, romance, there's excitement, there's illegal activities.
There's Toni Collette getting her groove back
Exactly that.
in the arms of a younger Italian lover.
Indeed.
I'm guessing.
And they're much romance, much romance. It is just, it's lovely. It is.
Yeah.
It feels wrong saying lovely about something which involves some, fairly gruesome murder. But
yeah. Well, it puts me in mind of do you remember the film Analyze This?
yes.
Rob De
Analyze
Niro, yeah.
with Robert De Niro and Billy Crystal. And yeah, that whole thing where you have the mafia thing, but like almost a slightly different take on it. But so you think it's good, Tony? I mean, the trailer looks like they had a lot of fun making it, but it looked like it might be the kind of fun that actually translates to making a fun film, as opposed to the one where it's just self-indulgent and you go like, yeah, there's nothing in here for me. So how many stars would you give Mafia Mama?
I am giving it a solid 4.
4 stars for Mafia Mama.
It would be, if it had more substance, I would give it a 5, but I don't want it to have more substance. So
I think this kind of film having more substance could be an overreach. So
it deserves no substance. It has the right amount of substance and the right amount of morals and caring and home baking that you could possibly want.
It's like, oh yeah, we know this is supposedly wrong, and yeah, we do not condone killing people. But anyway, let's move on.
Killing people bad killing.
Oh dear, we got like our next one then.
All right, cool. So that's it for Mafia Mama. 4 stars for Mafia Mama, and now we go back to cinema. And in cinema, we are going on to a film that I think Shaun might. Well, I think Shaun was quite looking forward to this film. Showing as we're recording this on Zoom, and Shaun has shown up with a certain giant atomic lizard as his background on Zoom. So I'm guessing that you enjoyed this, Shaun. What was it that you enjoyed?
Okay, well, what can I say? I did. Yeah, I enjoyed this movie. For me, ticked every single box in
You just
the
want to
way
say what
that.
the movie is, by the way.
Yeah. Sorry, it's Godzilla Minus One. I'll do a brief story of it because I thought I was going to try and stay calm so I could actually explain the story instead of get too excited. I said to myself, Shawnee, you've got to stay a little bit calmer when talking about this. So I'll give you a brief story and then I'll tell you my thoughts. So it starts off. It's the end of the Second World War. There's a comic. It starts off with a pilot, a kamikaze pilot, supposed to be a kamikaze pilot, and he lands. He says he's having trouble with his engine, with his plane, and he sort of lands on this island with mechanics. And of course, it gets a this particular island at this time gets attacked. So it gets attacked by Godzilla. So that and he freezes, and a lot of people get killed. So and then it switches to post-war Japan, just post-war, and it's all destroyed. And he turns up. His parents have died. His family have died. He meets a girl who's with a baby that he it's not her baby, but it's just a baby. It's like an orphan, and he's got the story. But all the time in his mind, he's got, because so many people died. It's like he's still got a lot of ghosts about this about Godzilla, you know. And then there's another attack, and let's just say some important people get hurt, which I like. You know, I like that. You know, I like realism when, you know, people that are sort of should we say not main, but sort of major characters get you know, I really like that, because to me that makes like that's what would happen. It's not like
it's not like you have this character that has plot armor that no matter what happens, they're not going to get hurt.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, and then they decide what. Right. So the Americans with Godzilla, they think there's going to be another Godzilla attack, but the Americans don't want to get involved because they're worried about the Soviets getting all upset if they start. So the Soviets. So you got like the Cold War, post-war Soviet, which I thought, okay, that's a good explanation for why. So they basically say, the Japanese say, right, we've got to do this ourselves. We've been given this equipment and that equipment, and this is what we can use. And they come up with a couple of different plans before Godzilla can reach Tokyo to destroy it. So that's basically the story.
Yes.
That's so you can guess. So Godzilla's not in it huge amounts. He sort of pops up now and again, but a lot of it is about the plans they make. Or what if that plan don't work? Well, we've got this plan, but that might not work. So that's basically the story. I mean, but this really, I was thinking about this, you know, Toes, and this since, you know, like if a film would come to mind, I think this is going to be one. Like the last film I can think just in my head randomly that I saw was Leave No Trace. So, and that was the last, and I don't know how many years ago that was. You probably would have more thoughts than that.
That was pre-pandemic, so it must have been about 4 years.
Right, about 4 years. So this probably has got to be the best film I've seen in the since then.
Oh wow!
Because it ticked all the boxes. Everything was, you know, I mean, it might have been CGI, but it was all, you know, people say, oh, you're a bit, you know, when it comes to realism in films, you know, even though it's supposed to be a fantasy film or something like that.
Yes.
I don't mind if it's a fantasy film, as long as the stuff makes sense, you know. And it's not
as long as there's an internal logic, and they say this is the way things are supposed to happen in this world, and then they stick to that, you're fine.
That's it. I knew you could put it in better words than I could. So this ticks all the boxes, and for me, there's a wow moment. There is a wow moment when I'm like, wow, and not many people would know unless they were fans of Japanese
kaiju.
No, not nothing to do with the kaiju. No, wow kaijus. Yeah, nothing. No, this is what they've got one of those. And you know, and it's like wow, and it's something towards. I mean, I don't want to give any spoilers, but I'm yep. And funny enough, it's just like people wouldn't know. They'd think, oh, you know, what is that? That was not a thing, but it was a thing. It was a thing at the end of the war, and it's almost identical to this thing at the end of the war, which only one exists in parts.
I can tell you like something when you do not want to give spoilers.
Yeah.
You want to preserve that feeling that other people when they go watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, go on, Toast.
No, I was just going to say, because obviously this is a Japanese Godzilla movie, because at the moment you now have this whole thing where you have Japanese you have Japanese Godzilla movies being made alongside American Godzilla movies.
Ones, yeah.
So we have Godzilla Minus One, which is coming out now. They have is it Godzilla
Kong Godzilla, isn't it? With Kong,
Godzilla X Kong or something like that. The Godzilla X Kong, which is coming out, which seems to be like a Kong and Godzilla team up movie. But the Japanese Godzilla movies always seem to have more on their minds than the American ones, because the American ones seem to be like, oh look, big lizard, and the Japanese ones are like going back to the original the original
yeah.
Godzilla movie, that it was actually supposed to be an allegory for the nuclear attack.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it seems like the Japanese ones keep that, because I know the last one, Shin Godzilla, was like a whole other thing where there was hardly any Godzilla in the film. But it was more about what the presence of this thing does to the people in Japan.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, in this, Godzilla is not like a hero, and it's just a beast, just a destructive beast. There's no real sort of purpose to him. I don't suppose, the causing the chaos that he does. But yeah, and Godzilla's lovely. I could do with a nice sight. He's just absolutely, and as I say, it goes back to, and the music, that comes in right at the right. It's sort of the theme, the music theme, sort of is running through the film, and then there's a bit where it's just like it's getting towards one of the plans, where it just goes bum 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 bum, and it's like oh, and it's just really really loud, and it's just like, and so yeah, for me this is like, this is. I mean, I know this is. I cannot fault this. Maybe just like towards the end when somewhat was a bit. I thought, well, but then that was plausible as well. I could sort of forgive that. I thought, yeah, well, okay, fair enough.
Sure, don't talk yourself out of it.
I'm not going to. I shall see this again. I'm going to go and see this in IMAX, and I shall watch it on every, whatever ones there are. So, I mean, as you can guess, this is the best movie I've seen since Leave No Trace. So it's a top 5-star for me, this one. It's like all the way. Ticks every single box that I love in a movie.
That's pretty cool. At the end of the year, you get your best film of the year. Right at the end of the year. That is pretty darn good, man. That's pretty darn good. So yeah, Godzilla Minus One, 5 stars for Godzilla Minus One.
Full solid 5 stars. I'd give it 5 stars plus 500 if I possibly could. It's right up there.
Oh, good stuff. Now it makes me wish that it was showing in a cinema near me and I had the time to see it. But okay, so now we go back for our final film this week. We go back to Netflix and Friends.
Toes, I was just going to say it was an unlimited screening that I saw it in. So I think it's due out. I think it's due out Friday. So you might due out tomorrow. So you might be able to catch it.
Maybe it will be. Maybe I'll be able to catch it. But the other thing I was going to ask is, so they do call him Gojira, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. They call him that, because that's the thing, that it's when they say Godzilla, then when you watch the original Japanese one, you're like, why is nobody saying Godzilla? But they all go Gojira.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they don't quite go that extreme. They just say, they just call it Godzilla appeared here and did this and this and this is. But it's just I don't know, when they come up with the plans, it's like, yeah, I can see how they could do that. What they're actually plausible. Trying to do, and there is reason behind it. It's not going to be shot down. It's not going to be. So they have to come up with a couple of ideas and try these ideas. So and they're like, well, what happens if it doesn't work? Well, we've got this other idea, but which we could do, and it's just like, wow, yeah. So super movie. I love it. Brilliant. And even. I'm just going to say one thing. It was quite funny. I told John hadn't seen it. Happy John, one of our people. Yep. And I texted saying it was a good film because I'm in like a little group. And he texted back and said, Simon said it was the best film he'd seen as well. So me and Simon, he's much younger than I am. And normally we disagree on films like Bodies. He loved, I hated. And we normally disagree on all films. But John actually texted back and said, FYE, Simon liked this film as well. Thought it was the best film he'd seen all year. So
good stuff.
I figure that it must be good.
That's it. Godzilla Minus One, uniting the generations. Yeah. So now we go over to Netflix and we go over to Leo. Now, this is, as we said earlier, is an animated film starring Adam Sandler, because Adam Sandler has this long-running deal with Netflix where he just makes stuff for them, and it feels as if. But it seems almost as if Netflix have given Adam Sandler a whole bunch of money and said, you can do whatever you like. So he just comes up with all these different things. I think the latest one that he did was, the one before this that he did a film with, called You're So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah, because, and that stars pretty much his whole family, and he's done it again. Pretty much his whole family are in this, voicing characters in minor roles. But the whole point about this is that there's this Leo. Leo is a lizard, and he's in a school class. I think it's in 5th grade in America. He's in a 5th grade school in America. So him and his friend Squirtle, who's a turtle, tortoise, voiced by Bill Burr. They live in this glass, and they live their whole lives in this glass, and they watch all the kids. And because they observe all the kids, they know all this stuff. So the thing starts and the thing comes in and they're like, a new class. Ooh, well, that's the kid who has divorced parents. Look how they're clinging on to the teacher. Oh, well, that kid is obviously the first child. I never heard the word no. That kid, and they're essentially and it becomes this thing where through these animals, they're commenting on like the social structure that you find in sort of elementary schools in America. So there's a bit where they have like a parents' evening. One of the parents looks at Leo and goes, "Oh yeah, that's that kind of lizard. They only live to about 30. They only live to about 75, and then they die." And then so Leo starts going, "Hang on a second, how long have I been here?" And then they have this flashback scene where they go back through all the different generations that he's been in that classroom. Where there's a bit where they have like an NSYNC poster up on the wall with Justin Timberlake with the curly hair, and there's a bit where they have like a Neil Armstrong poster on the wall, and it's like he's walking on the roof, and there's a bit where they have the Summer of Love, and he's dressed all like a hippie, and then they go all the way back to when he actually first arrived in the school, and he realized that he arrived in 1949. He arrived and that he's about to turn 75. So he thinks, "Oh my God, I'm about to die. I've lived my whole life in this thing. I need to escape." And so he starts trying to concoct a plan to escape and go into the world and see the world and live it he's aided by a substitute teacher who comes in and says, "You kids need to take one of these class pets home to learn responsibility." So one of the kids takes him home and he's like, "That's it. I'm going to escape." But then it turns out that in this world, animals can talk, and animals can talk in a way that humans can understand them. So, but none of the animals let any of the humans know, because if they do, they'll be taken to a lab and dissected. So none of the animals talk to humans. But he starts talking to the kids and starts helping the kids with their problems. So it's like, "Oh yeah, you're having this whole thing. I've been in this box for like 75 years. I've seen a whole bunch of stuff with human experience. I can help you." And so he starts telling, but he tells all the kids, "No, you're special. You're the only one that can hear me." So all the kids now start clamoring to be the one who takes him home and everything like that, because he helps them out, and it becomes this sort of like heartwarming thing where it's all about him helping out all these kids to sort out their life issues, whether it's whatever they have going on at home or anything like that. And so with that, it's kind of like it's the family movie you would expect, with a little bit of weirdness in that the animals can actually talk to humans. And the fact that like his friend Squirtle starts getting jealous because it's like, well, the kids love you. I can give advice too, and then tries to give advice that goes horribly wrong and all that. And then the teacher gets the substitute teacher gets. So there's plots that goes on. There's all stuff that goes on. If you ever saw the film, what was it called?
Rango.
No, not Rango. No Rango. It's another Netflix film. It is Lin-Manuel Miranda voices a kinkajou. It's set in Cuba. And good Lord, I blanked on the name of that film. But anyway, that other Netflix film, it puts me in that film because this also ends up in Florida, ends up in the Everglades, ends up with the whole thing of like, it goes crazy. There's a bit where a school bus gets hijacked by kids because they have to go save a lizard that's in the Everglades that was dropped off there by a teacher that got... The plot goes crazy. But the main thing is that it's actually quite an enjoyable film. It's a step above your usual fare. It's obviously made for kids, but I think that there's just about enough in there for parents and for older people too to actually grab a hold onto. So I would give Leo a 3 out of 5. And Adam Sandler, if you're not told that it's him doing the voice of a 75-year-old lizard, you would struggle to know it's him, because the voice work that he does is actually quite impressive. Where he sort of goes, best since Miss Belluci in 1975. And it's like, you're kind of like going, is that? Yeah, that. Oh yeah, now I hear that is Adam Sandler. So it's actually really, really good. I think, Shaun, you would actually you find enough in there.
It does sound actually, from what you're saying, it sounds like it's something I would quite enjoy.
Yes. So. I mean, obviously not Shaun because it's animated and therefore it's kryptonite. So, but I think it would be a 3. It would be a 3. It's a very good, solid 3. It's nowhere near a 4 for me, but it's a good, solid 3. Not disappointing. We've watched it a couple of times because my daughter wanted to watch it again. But hey, I wasn't complaining.
No, well, that's good news. I
wasn't complaining. It's one of those things I would do. All right, so because we need to get Shaun off because Shaun is going to go spend Christmas on the beach in Thailand.
Amazing.
So yeah. Before we do that, we need to just ask, who do we think has won this week? Has it been Netflix or has it been cinema? What do you reckon?
I think it's got to be cinema with
Yeah,
the with that big 5, and 4.
I mean, all in all,
that's
it's
good though. I'm quite pleased because I think some of these streaming platforms are starting to release films at the cinema, aren't they? It's what it seems to me. The streaming companies that are making films, Apple and all them, they're actually giving them a cinema release as well as the.
What will happen? What will happen is that if the film is released later in the year and it's on a streaming platform, it will have a cinema release, and they've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
So I think there's the film that Casey Affleck won an award for. He won his Best Actor award for Manchester by the Sea. That was an Amazon film. They released it in the cinema so it could qualify for him to get the Oscar. Roma, that Alfonso Cuarón did, that was a Netflix film. They released it in cinemas, but I think what is getting different now is that they used to only release it for like a week in cinemas, and then it will be on Netflix. Now they're giving them longer times in cinemas before they show up on Netflix. So Killers of the Flower Moon, that's actually an Apple TV movie, but they're leaving that in cinemas for an extended amount of time before it goes onto that. So there are things that are being done like that, and I think it is good because they are beginning to realize that having it on a big screen could be the best publicity for them, even if they made it purely to show people towards their streaming platform. So all good. Films on the big screen is good.
Good, it is good, yeah.
Yes.
So that's the winners, I think.
Yes. So that's good. So and that's what we have. We have cinema winning, which is always good. Always makes you high.
That makes me happy. That makes me happy.
And it hasn't happened in a bit, has it?
Not for a while. It hasn't. No, it's been close. It's always been really, really close lately.
It's always been really close. I think the last time was about 3 weeks ago when we had the Marvels and Dream scenario versus Fisk and Robots. Cinema won that week. But when Shaun, when you were away, cinema just didn't win because we weren't seeing anything in the cinema.
We'll have to make up for it.
When you were away, Shaun, we were the problem. But anyway, until next week, when I have absolutely no clue what we'll be seeing or if I will be allowed back in the cinema because I have a loud daughter, it's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
Thank you very much for joining us.